Archimedes once said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world." True words have never been spoken, especially in the Forex market. You can make a lot of money in the Forex market when you learn how to use a concept called leverage, and I'll demonstrate that in this video. Hey, my name is Winnie and I make videos on Forex trading, especially for beginners. If you're new to the channel, kindly consider subscribing and hit that bell icon to get notified every time I drop a new video. Without further ado, let's get started. In order to understand leverage, we need to first understand another concept called margin. This margin. So margin is simply the amount of money that a forex broker requires to act as collateral before you take any trading position. So the way I understand it is, let's say you move into a new apartment, and in most cases, landlords will require you to put up a specific amount of cash to act as the security deposit. And when you eventually move out, the landlord is going to return that security deposit. Now, forex brokers act in the same way. So before you take any trading position, they're going to deduct a certain percentage of your trading balance to act as that security deposit. And when you eventually close that position, the broker is going to return that deposit or that margin. Different brokers are going to have different margin requirements. Based on their own rules and regulations. Some brokers might require you to put up, let's say, a 1% of your trading balance. Others might require something like a 0.5% margin requirement. Even others would require you to put up 0.2% of your trading balance. Now, let's see how all this applies in the form of an example. Let's say you have a $100 account, and your your forex broker requires you to put up a 1% margin requirement of their $100 account. So 1% of $100 is simply $1, right? So before taking any trading position, your broker is going to deduct $1 from your trading account. So this $1 is something that's called a used margin. You're going to come across this term in your trading account when you see something called a used margin. Now at least you have a better understanding of what actually this means. Now the remaining, so after the broker deducts the $1 here from your trading account of $100, it's going to remain $99, right? Now with $99 is something that's called a free margin. A free margin is simply the amount of money that remains in your trading account after the broker deducts their margin requirement. So with the $99 that remains in your trading account, you're free to open other trading positions. You're free to open other positions that you may spot in the market. Now, after you close that position, the broker is going to return the $1 back to your trading account. So let's take another example. If the broker requires a 0.5% margin requirement and you have your $100 account, so what this means is they are going to deduct 0.5 of 100 times 100. So they are going to deduct 50 cents from your trading account. So this 50 cents is going to act as the used margin, and the remaining 100 minus the 50 cents is going to come to $99.5. So the $99.5 in this case will be the free margin that you're allowed to open other trading positions that you may spot in the market. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in primary school in our science classes, we learned about levers. So we had this setup. So we had the load here, we had the lever, we had a fulcrum. This was a fulcrum. This is the load, and this is where we are going to apply our efforts. So if you are to lift this huge rock by with your own bare hands, you'd need to use a lot of effort to even move it by 1 inch. But if you had this setup, then you lifting this load would be so much easier. Your effort that would be needed to lift the rock would be greatly reduced. Now, leverage uses the same principle. So leverage is simply the ability to use something small to control something big. So in the Forex market, leverage is simply the ability that you have to use small capital size to control huge capital size. So how leverage works is your Forex broker is going to lend you money. Now you won't actually see that money in your trading account, but now you have an ability to take large size positions in the market. Now, the formula that you use to calculate leverage is 1 over margin requirement. This is how you get leverage. Now, this means that leverage and margin have an inverse relationship. So let's take an example. Based on our previous, margin requirement was 1%. So how do you get leverage? Leverage is 1 divided by margin requirement. So it's 1 over 1%. So if I'm to write this in fraction form, it's going to be 1 over 100. So it's 1 divided by 1 over 100. So it's going to be 1 times 100 over 1, meaning it's 100 over 1. So if I'm to write this in the form of a ratio, it's going to be 100:1. So this now will be leverage. Now let's take another example. What if the margin requirement was 0.5%? So if the margin requirement was 0.5%, then the leverage is going to be 1 divided by 0.5%. If I'm to write this in fraction form, it's going to be 1 divided by 0.5 over 100. So it's going to be 1 times 100 over 0.5. So 100 over 0.5 multiplied by 10, it's going to be 1,000 over 5. Now 5 divided 1, this is 200. So the leverage in this case would be 200:1. So what does this mean? We have a leverage of 200:1. It simply means that your $1 in the Forex market, if you use the leverage of 200:1, your $1 is equal to $200 in the Forex market. So how do we use leverage to actually make money in the Forex market? Let's understand what really happens. So let's take an example in euro dollar, my favorite pair. Let's say for example, price moved up from 1.1500 to 1.1600. So by now, I hope you remember that the pip is represented in the 4th decimal place, meaning essentially that when price moves from 1.1500 to 1.1600, it has already moved up 100 pips. Okay? So the pip is represented in the 4th decimal place, so it's 0.001. So this is where 1 pip is. Okay. Now, if price moves up 100 pips, that would be it's accurate to say that it can be represented by 0.001, right? Because we have multiplied this by 100, and 100 we have moved now to 2 decimal places, which is now 0.01. This is going to be represented by 100 pips. So if I'm to write this in the percentage form to find the actual percentage that price changed when it moved from 1.1500 to 1.1600, then it's going to be it's going to be 1. So 0.01, if I'm to write that in percentage form, it's going to be 1 over 100 times 100, right? So when price moves up 100 pips, it has just moved up 1%. That's the percentage change in the performance of that pair. Now, if we had a $100 account and price moved up just 1%, the change in our trading account would be 1 over 100 times 100, which is $1. So this is actually the amount of money that would end up making after price moved up 100 pips. This is without any leverage. Now let's introduce leverage. So earlier on, I mentioned that if you have a leverage of, you're using a leverage of 100:1, it means that for every $1 that you have, it's actually worth $100. So now, since we have made $1 in our trading account when price moved up from 1.1500 to 1.1600, it essentially means now that our $1 is now worth $100. So the change in our account is not $101, but now it's 100. No, sorry, it's 100. That's the original investment plus now the amount that we have gained when we used this leverage of 100 to 1, which is now another 100. So at the end of the day, when you close this position, when price moved up 100 pips, it would now be worth $200. So let's take another example. If you had used 200 to 1 leverage, then your $1 that you have gained in your account would now actually be worth $200. So the change in your account is going to go from $100 to now $300, meaning that's a $200 gain. So we have only explored scenarios where price moves in our favor, but what happens if price moves against us? So if we had leveraged our accounts to 100 to 1 and price goes against our position, then we are going to lose all our money and blow our trading accounts. So that's why it's generally advised for new traders to only use very, very minimal leverage and use proper risk management tools. So this is definitely something that we are going to explore in future videos. If you've made it this far into the video, I really appreciate you. And if I've missed any important information on the topic, please let me know in the comments below, and we can all learn from each other. So if you found value from this video, kindly remember to like, share it with friends who be into this kind of content, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next one.